Welcome everybody to today's Spotlight on HR, and I am really delighted to have the lovely Tara Ferguson with me. And today's Spotlight is a topic that's very close to my heart, but I am pretty certain it's something that most people that will be watching this can relate to, because today we're going to talk about cancer. We're going to talk about a condition that I think the facts are now 1 in 2 people will get this diagnosis at some stage in their lives. So if it hasn't affected you directly, guaranteed you will know somebody that you care about, that you cherish, that has had that diagnosis. And I guess for me, I wanted to feature somebody that I knew and somebody that I admire and somebody that I find really inspiring, because I hear so many times when I'm speaking to my network about there being sometimes an awkwardness, a bit of a, oh God, Katie, my HRD's just come to me to tell me they've been diagnosed with cancer. What do I do? And in a way, I kind of feel slightly taken aback. I think, well, talk to them, talk to them, find out. So today is all about positivity, Tara, and you are a shining example of that. I will always remember when we first spoke, just being, I really enjoyed the conversation. I found you really funny, and in a good way, I hasten to add. But I remember you just having that really infectious personality, really driven, really determined. So when I heard about your cancer diagnosis, I was just like, oh God, and I deliberately kind of kept a track on your journey, and I just thought, it's Tara that I need to speak to about this, because you're such a good example and you will tell your story in such a way that it's going to help others, and that's what this is all about. So without further ado, Tara, firstly, thank you so much for coming on to this.
Oh, thank you for having me.
But my first question is really completely over to you. Can you just tell us a bit about what you've experienced since your cancer diagnosis last August?
Yeah, absolutely. So, excuse me. Yeah, I was diagnosed with breast cancer on the 24th of August last year at the age of 41.
Yeah.
And very quickly, the focus then became about removing the cancer from my body and doing as much as we could to treat the cancer itself. So I had initially had some surgery in October to remove the tumour, and also to look at the lymph nodes, which were thankfully clear. After that surgery, I then prepared for chemo, and I had 8 cycles of chemo. So it was every fortnight between November and February. And then after chemo, I had a little bit of a break, and then I had further surgery. So I'd been advised after the first surgery, which was a lumpectomy, to actually move to a mastectomy. So I had a mastectomy and reconstruction at the end of April.
Okay.
So for the first kind of 7-8 months, the focus was very much on treating the cancer and getting rid of the cancer.
Yeah.
After that, and since April, May time, the focus has shifted to preventing the cancer from coming back. So doing everything that we can to prevent the cancer from returning. What that means is the kind of cancer I had. So everyone's cancer, I've learned, is very individual, very different treatment pathways. You could have what sounds like exactly the same cancer, but have very different experiences from a treatment point of view. And I made a decision very early on, actually, to put my trust in the medical professionals that were looking after me, to not question them, to not doubt them, to just say, okay, I'm in safe hands, and I'll trust them. So since May, the focus has shifted more to hormonal kind of treatments. So I've had my ovaries suppressed now since May with an injection every 4 weeks in my stomach. That will continue for the next few years. I also take a drug called tamoxifen every day. and that will also help. So both of those are aimed at basically stopping my body from producing estrogen, because the kind of cancer that I had was estrogen receptor positive. So it effectively fed off the estrogen. So that's where I am now. And the impact of those two medications was a pretty much immediate medical menopause. So adding into recovering from chemo, recovering from surgery, recovering from the emotional impact of having cancer, I was thrown right in at immediate menopause in May this year. So that's been kind of my focus for the last few months, has been trying to both recover physically, mentally, emotionally, cognitively from the cancer treatment, but also looking at the kind of dealing with the menopause side of things.
Absolutely. Wow, it's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot. I think there will be so many people listening to that will resonate so clearly with what you're saying. From I guess from the person going through it, what would you say the things have been that, if you think about, if we take this into like a work context, because you're still you're still Tara, you've got your purpose in life, but when you look at you as your kind of career Tara, what would you say the things have been that have worked well for you from a work perspective, and why? Because, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, you know, you've gone through all of this, but you know, you're not giving up in your career. You know, that's not what you want to do. So what's worked well for you when you're thinking about your work, and why has that worked well for you?
Absolutely. So I guess my role, for context, is a people business partner role. So prior to my diagnosis, I was working very closely with two of our exec in the company that I work for, which is a kind of medium-sized pharma tech. And immediately on diagnosis, my manager asked me what I wanted, but suggested taking one of those two business partners away from me. So kind of effectively halving my workload right at the beginning, because he could understand that although I wasn't necessarily going straight into treatment, the mental load of what was happening, but also the admin burden. I talk on LinkedIn about admin, which is it's a huge amount of cancer-related admin to do. So he took kind of half of my role off me from day one, and we were fortunate we had capacity within the team to pick that up. And then when I moved to my first kind of major treatment, which was surgery, the other half of the business partnering role was passed on. And throughout up until July this year, that business partnering and the kind of day-to-day was covered either by someone else in the team, or a contractor came in for a period of time this year. And that was huge, because the weight just lifts off. And business partnering, as you know, is very much a kind of day-to-day operational role, or certainly can be. And what was difficult was I couldn't predict when I was going to be feeling okay. I had a ton of appointments to go to even before treatment started. So I couldn't really predict when I was going to be working or not working. So that decision was made for me, and I'm forever grateful to my manager for suggesting it. What then happened from a work point of view was I decided that I didn't necessarily just want to have one long period of absence. So many people will decide that that's the right thing for them, and there's no issue with that. But for me, the relationships that I have at work, the contact, that feeling of kind of professional identity was really important to me. So I said, actually, I'll take time off when I need to take time off, but if I'm feeling okay, then I'd like to work. And again, my manager was really supportive of that. So I took periods of time off after both surgeries, and then in the in-between times and during chemo, it was more a case of if I'm feeling up to it, then I would log on. Again, that's quite difficult for an organisation to manage.
Yeah, I can see it with both hats on, totally.
Definitely. And yeah, working in HR, having dealt with employees with serious illnesses or cancer or anything else, it's not easy to manage. And I think I was just really lucky that we were able to manage that with the position I was in.
Yeah.
But one thing that I did want to highlight from a work point of view was we always do the urgent stuff. We always do the kind of important urgent stuff, and often so many of us will talk about just firefighting all the time. And the bits we don't get to are the important bits that aren't urgent. And I feel lucky that I was able to do those things when I could work in between time. So as an example, I ran a workshop internally within the people team to talk about my kind of experience around lean and Lean Six Sigma and process efficiencies. That was something that I could just pick up the prep for as I had a bit of time, as I felt able to. And then when I felt a bit better, I was able to deliver that. Or things like part of my responsibility is employee wellbeing, and for Stress Awareness Month in April and Mental Health Awareness Week in May, I was able to do some preparation and make a real plan for that, so that some of it I couldn't deliver myself. It crossed over with my second surgery, so I wasn't at work actually during that week, but I could lay the foundations. And having that flexibility allowed me to get to those important things that aren't always the must do today, must do tomorrow.
Absolutely. It's funny because what I hear there a lot is flexibility. And actually to a certain extent, autonomy. I really like the fact that your manager asked you first, what do you want? Because it's funny, you know, my own experience with people that I've loved that have got cancer, the number of appointments, that cancer admin, it's a great expression. But one thing that always sticks in my mind is the number of appointments that I went to with that individual, and they would speak to me and not the person that had the condition. And it used to really irritate me. But you know, the person that I was with was like, hello, I'm here in the room. Do I have an opinion on this treatment? So everything you're saying, I think, is a really good insight to share with leaders, managers, work colleagues, is just give you that flexibility, let you speak, because your journey will be unique to you.